that when you leave the world is a better place once you leave it than it was when you came into it. That's the sort of credit rating you need when you die. And all of us are called to do that. But we can do it in the way that we live our lives economically and politically. And I'm going to give you this story. It's one of my favourites. There's a whole chapter of it in my book, Small is Still Beautiful, called Small Beer. Those of you that know me, you know that ale is one of my favourite subjects. And it starts in a pub in Dublin, in Ireland, in the early 1970s. 4 Englishmen in an Irish pub. Sounds like the beginning of a joke. And they're lamenting, crying into their Guinness, that it's impossible to get a decent pint of ale anywhere in England today. Because in the previous 30 years, the big 4 brewers had bought up or otherwise put out of business all the small breweries. And these 4 men decided they're going to do something about it. They're going to form a consumer group called the Campaign for Real Ale. That sounds good. Not surprisingly, if you know the English, this proved to be a very popular organisation. And there are about 30,000 members within about 10 years. Now, when you've got 30,000 members, you're creating a demand. And small brewers started to be founded. New microbreweries, as you call them over here, were founded to meet this demand for real ale. Even the big brewers tried to produce their own. And the beer market in the UK was transformed. But more than that, some of these small brewers, being good entrepreneurs, decided they would stop being brewers and would become beer consultants or brewing consultants. And they started going around the world, including to the United States, and started showing people in the United States how to establish successful small breweries, microbreweries. And I have no idea about the figures now, but there are, I absolutely know, dozens, probably now well over 100, maybe 200 microbreweries in this country that have been established in the last 20 or 30 years. Now, to a very large extent, that's due to 4 Englishmen sitting in a pub in Dublin in 1973. The same year, incidentally, that Small is Beautiful was first published. So you see that you can change things. And that's what we're called to do. And I'll basically conclude with that. But let's just, I've got to hammer away at something here because I just need to. I am an Englishman, living in the United States and very happy to be here. I am a European, but I am very opposed to the European Union. And the European Union really serves as a warning for those in the United States, because it's actually being carried out and perpetrated upon the people of Europe as a deception, as an active deception. When Britain joined the common market, in fact, the history of it, by the way, is it originally started as something called Benelux. Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg. 3 small countries stuck between 3 big countries, Germany, France, and the United Kingdom. Now these 3 small countries thought they would be more competitive if they got together. Makes absolute sense, I have no problem with that. But these 3 countries become the common market. And there were 6 members of the common market originally. France and Germany joined in. So its meaning's changed already. Britain joins, making 9 members from Britain joins the common market. When there was a referendum to see whether Britain wanted to stay in the common market, the British people, first of all, completely undemocratic, for every £1 spent on the No campaign to get Britain out, I think there were £14 spent on the Yes campaign to keep Britain in, big business piling funds in. But we were told there's nothing to worry about. Those people that are talking about it being a United States of Europe are just scaremongering. It's only a common market, a free trade area, nothing else. So the British people vote to stay in. It then changes its name. No more referenda, that's it. The rest of it is just a process of evolution and deception. It changes its name from the common market to the European Economic Community. Now those of you who have read George Orwell's 1984 will detect doublethink, newspeak, and all of Big Brother's deceptions in this. So it becomes the European Economic Community, the EEC. It then becomes the European Community. The word economic is dropped. It's no longer just an economic body, it's a political body. The European Community. And then it becomes the European Union. And basically what you have there is an institution that it becomes less and less democratic and is run by bureaucrats in Brussels, with basically the European Parliament large as a talking shop, against the will of the people, and calls itself democratic, and calls itself substitutionist. Big Brother knows no limits in the art of lying. But let's look at this now. Let's look at democracy, because we've concentrated mostly here, I think, today on economics, which is fine. Let's look at science mattering where politics is concerned. The further that the governing institution gets from the people, the less democratic it is. So, for instance, we have in the US now, federal government gets more and more powerful, states' rights are undermined, the rights of city, township councils are undermined, sorry, using all the common terminology on the Brit. County governments are undermined, all the real power is in Washington, D.C. Now, a true democracy has to be where you know who your representative is, and your representative has real power. So that, for instance, if the right to tax you was local, and those taxes were used to do things that were essential to your life locally, you'd be sure that people would be voting in local government far more, and you know who your representative was, you'd know where they were being corrupt, and you'd get rid of them much more easily. But what we see with the European Union and what we see with the concentration of power in the federal government is that a system is becoming increasingly and encroachingly less and less democratic. And that's because basically small is beautiful on the stuff where democracies are concerned as well, not just where business is concerned. I'm going to throw in now a few literary aphorisms just to get us thinking here. Liberty itself must be limited in order to be possessed. Edmund Burke. Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power tends to corrupt absolutely. Lord Acton. It's funny that all our democratic and economic systems are moving towards more and more centralized power. Anarchy. Freedom's own Judas. Oscar Wilde. A cynic is a person who knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. Free market libertarian, or actually Oscar Wilde, who said it. And Chesterton, who I think in 1931, you have to be very careful with this sort of audience because I'll probably get my dates wrong, but I think